This is a Little Empire podcast. Visit us at littleempirepodcast.com and on Twitter at Little Empire Pod.
You're going to play that dastardly intro again?
Ow! This movie's still fine.
There's a Coley pasta.
One of them dies, that guy's screw. One of them's a hothead, his name is Jarhead. One of them looks like Johnny Depp, and his name is Johnny Depp.
Classic Maximum Joseph.
You forget that films are supposed to have a point.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the worst idea of all time, Christmas edition.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
I would like to wish everybody in the world, not just our listeners, but everyone who's out there, who's alive today, season's greetings to you all. Happy holidays, and that's our show. Thank you very much for tuning in to the worst idea. Have a great time out there. Stay safe on the roads.
Always stay safe on the roads. But beyond that, I would recommend staying safe on the sidewalk, stay safe in your house, stay safe at your friends' houses, extended families' houses, stay safe when you're riding a horse, stay safe when mowing the lawns, stretch before you run, or don't. But
and if you're in airplanes, you want to do those exercises so you don't get deep vein thrombosis. No, that's not it. Deep vein thrombosis.
Deep vein thrombosis. That's
Deep vein
exactly
thrombosis is where you get to an altitude when you've been drinking too much because it's the holiday season and you start puking at 10,000 feet in the air.
Oh, have you ever thrown up on a plane?
I think maybe once years ago, like as a kid.
I thought you were going to say as a goof.
Just for a laugh. Do you remember that flight that we took in between the west and east coasts of the United States? That was the scariest flight I've ever been on in my life. I got pretty close to vomiting on that.
It was
the middle of the night and you just fell asleep. And it was about, I don't know, whatever it is, 6 hours of just non-stop, pretty intense turbulence.
I find the turbulence gently rocks me to sleep. In the same way, in the bed I sleep in, I've hired an army of just like people who are just 5 foot, exactly 5 foot. I got about 4 of them, or I have a rotation where there's 4 of them, and they just sort of rock my bed and make plane noises to help me sleep.
That is odd. It's an odd use of your money.
It is. It's really expensive.
I feel like we need to take a quick step back and establish some surroundings. First of all, old Guybo and Tim are in different places at the moment. I'm in the Little Empire Studios in Auckland, and Guy, where are you?
I am in the Little Montgomery Empire in Christchurch. That is to say, my childhood room.
Oh, is that where you were? I thought you were further down the line. You're in Chicha.
Nah, Bolt. I'm in my family house.
See, I always wondered about this because also, welcome to the worst idea of all time, a podcast in which Guy and myself watch and review the same movie for a year.
We just watched We Are Your Friends for the 27th time. But the question you were asking Tim.
Well, I find it interesting because my parents move house a lot. So I think I did a count up the other day and they've lived in something like 9 or 10 or maybe 11 different properties since I was born. So I don't have any of that sense of, like, going back to your childhood room, is that a real trip out? Is that nostalgic and weird?
Yes and no. No, because it has been, like, I'm in my childhood room, but I'm definitely not in my childhood bed. This bed is made for a house guest, like, and this room is made up. It still has flashes of Guy, but this is very much a generic hosting room now, I would say. Like,
a blank
for instance,
canvas.
The Baywatch FHM poster that adorned my ceiling so I could fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, in good company. That's not, for some reason, that's been taken out of the room.
It's an interesting design choice, actually. I would have kept that there if I was putting up a spare
I would have too. It was right next to a gold member poster, also on my ceiling. And underneath that was a Rat Race poster, which was also on my ceiling. I got the FHM poster from a magazine, and the other ones I got from the local video store.
And isn't that Guy Montgomery's 3 wants in life? Comedy, animated animals, and beautiful beach people.
Oh, no.
He's a simple man.
Rat Race wasn't animated animals. Rat Race.
Sorry. For some reason, my head went to Ratatouille. Yeah, Rat Race was... Rowan Atkinson was in that, eh?
Yeah, he had narcolepsy.
Yeah.
So it's not nostalgic in that it sort of it feels like an adult version of where I grew up. But being in Christchurch and being in the house in general, certainly nostalgic. Certainly feel very far removed from all of my responsibilities and adult trimmings in the real world outside of this sort of nostalgia bubble.
Well, look, we've talked entirely too much about things that aren't We Are Your Friends, so I'd like to get to the meat of the issue and discuss this piece of cinema with you that a man named Maximum Joseph put together with a band of merry men and women. Emily Ratajkowski.
Do you think they were merry? Do you think that it was a good experience on set?
Yeah, I do, and I think everyone was bringing a slightly different energy. Allow me to paint you a picture of how it was going, okay? Johnny Depp, every day, like a storm cloud, would arrive on set in the grimmest of moods, so focused, so utterly convinced that this was Oscar bait and this was his big break into the industry. And I feel most of the crew, not all, but most of the crew, knew what this film was. It was Zac Efron's flash, speedy car to get to the freeway of movie credibility, right? Now, unfortunately, that car did careen off the track slightly. He's all right. He didn't die. It wasn't like a fiery crash, but he did get a little bit beat up over it, a little bit injured, and the car got fucking totaled.
It was, probably just like more of a shaky, like terrifying reminder of your own mortality than actually any physical damage done. Just that feeling that you have after a near miss, where you're like, whoa.
Exactly. Especially because Zac Efron, like every other journey he had taken in a car, had been super successful. He had done... He was in a very pretty car called High School Musical. That went very well. Everyone loved that. He had been in some comedy cars before, like some tiny little minis that barely fit him. And he did pretty well in those cars. Those cars served him all right. And then he jumped in this artsy car and it fucking blew up on him. It's no good. So anyway, Johnny Depp's coming in dark. Zac Efron's coming into the set pretty fucking carefree, to be honest. Like a good jovial energy on set. He's a guy shaking everyone's hand. He remembers everyone's name. He's asking about details that you've dropped in conversation previously. How's your sister doing? Have the test results come back yet? That sort of a thing. Now, the one inescapable thing on the set of We Are Your Friends is... fucking that's so bad I've forgotten his name. That's how hungover I am. James Reid from The Feelers. You cannot wrestle the guitar out of his hands unless even on the lights camera bit he's still got it. It's not until a split second before Maximum Joseph yells action that James Reid throws the guitar out of shot.
Explains a lot, because that's why he always looks, for the first second or frame, even less than a second, he always looks slightly confused.
Yeah. Because he's just had to find a place to biff this guitar in a big hurry.
I don't see, this to me doesn't make any sense. Why would he not, if he knows he's going to get rid of it anyway, why to the last second? Why not? Because
he's just married to the thing. He wants to be with the guitar all the time. He sleeps with the guitar.
In this day and age, I mean, you don't want to get a reputation for being a diva on set. Sure, the kid's got chops, sure, but I mean, is he irreplaceable in the movie?
I would say certainly not. I would say very replaceable. But there's something about this sort of artistic temperament that Maximum Joseph really respects. There's something he digs about it.
Now that is a rookie first directing mistake, right? Isn't it? You mistake all of like the temper tantrums and attitude problems of your actors or your movie stars as like evidence they're troubled genius, you know. Instead of seeing these things for what, like, instead of seeing just the ongoing destruction of several very expensive guitars, you see someone who's focused on their work, and instead of telling them to get the hell off the set because they're being super disruptive and like injuring quite a lot of sound guys, you say, I love that, how can I channel that into my direction?
Yeah. But it is a great trick, isn't it? That if you can't be good at something, just be big and be bold, and you'll trick people into thinking you've got some sort of artistic flair and talent.
If you can't be good at something, be upset at it, which suggests that you expect more of yourself, and therefore you are good at it, just not right now.
Those people are tiring to be around. I know those people. I work with those people. Sometimes I embody that person, and it's just tiresome. It's bothersome and it's tiresome.
So they were a band of merry men and women on set.
Yeah.
But do you think because they all came in with these different energies and Maximum Joseph did somewhat of a poor job of like reining it in? Like his AD obviously would be like, James, we've got to do something about these guitars flying all left, right, and center all over set. Like it's a real dangerous work environment. Yeah. He was like, no, that's not how I run my set. You know that actors are actors.
Yeah.
Do you think that because of all these different energies and sort of the lack of a guiding voice, maybe to get them all to see what they're working towards, that the merriment turned towards hostility at any point, or do you think that they somehow maintained?
This is the thing about We Are Your Friends. First of all, you got to question the premise. Are we friends? Were we friends before? Are we friends now? I think the answer is probably no, because you're asking what the mood became on set. The answer to that is there is no cohesive mood. Everyone is in their own distinct little bubble.
Hold on. So you're telling me that beyond making his feature film directorial debut, Maxim Joseph also was running some sort of meditation or psychological retreat the whole time they were recording, where constantly both the actors themselves and the characters they were playing and everyone working in the crew had to ask themselves whether or not they were friends with the people immediately around them.
Yeah, every fucking day. I'll go further as well. I came up with a theory about Maximum Joseph while we're talking about him. I came up with it just now.
Oh, wow. Good job, Tim.
That is this. Maximum Joseph was going home every night. You know how he made catfish and that would have kept him real busy, right? So we didn't know this, but kind of everything in Maximum Joseph's life was leading up to that catfish moment, and he just was real focused on nailing that, and he knocked it out of the park with Minimum Joseph, his friend. And they did well. They were just spending every waking moment like promoting it and editing it and shooting it and getting the new season done and planning it out. And so Maximum Joseph hadn't actually seen a movie until he got given the reins for We Are Your Friends, till he got that contract. So he's very quickly been trying to watch as many films as humanly possible. Oh, I've got it. Hold on. My friend said Shadie's here, Guy. He's
I love
from his
Shadie.
slumber. I'll let him in. I'll just let him in. Hold on. Hey, Shadie.
Hey,
are you out of here?
I am.
All right.
Oh, that's a shame. Good morning, Shadie.
And this will just be... Oh, hold on. Let me put you on speaker so you can say hi to Shadie. Everyone else... Shadie is our friend from Los Angeles. He's just such a peach.
Oh.
Hey, Shadie.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, did you have a good night in Auckland, New Zealand last night?
Yeah, it was
talking to the mic. I don't know how this actually. Put one of these on. Come and sit. Have a brief chat to go.
Uh-oh.
What did you do?
Put one of these on.
Hey.
Yeah, have I got you?
We had a wicked night last night.
Hey, that's great news. What did you do? What fun stuff?
We got fish and chips and a fried potato thing and a donut we didn't eat. And tons of beer and whiskey.
Did you like the fried potato thing?
It was delicious, if I may say.
It's the best.
Natalia's here.
Oh.
You're gonna give Natalia a hug?
I haven't met Natalia, but I trust we'd get along very well.
She's lovely. She's also a peach.
Hey, Natalia.
I love.
Come on in.
I'm so sad to miss you, but I'll be back. So far, New Zealand is incredible. We've been
yeah, man. Where are you going now?
We're in town for Christmas with her parents, but we went up to, we've been to Piha, Pahia, Russell, Lee. Then we're doing,
baby.
Yeah, then we're doing Carmandel, Rotorua, Taupo, Taranaki for New Year. So we're doing a big tour.
Yeah, you're covering a lot of ground.
Yeah, it's super cool.
It's the beauty of this small coastal nation. And so where are you going today?
Today we're just going to the French market and then Christmas Eve with her parents. So,
you're a class act.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Tim and I just watched We Are Your Friends. Have you seen that movie?
I have seen that movie. Yes.
What did you think of it?
Well, I'm glad that Tim seems to be enjoying it more than previous seasons. I actually, when I heard you announce that, I thought you were gonna get bored of it real quick. But it sounds like it's holding up a little.
No, it'd be fair to say we got bored of it. Like it'll happen to anything. But
Well, no, of course, but yeah, no. I mean, I struggled the first time.
you struggled to watch it. You didn't buy into the story.
I did not buy into the story. It was very.
What were your
found
grievances with the story?
The story. Well, I found all the characters really intolerable, which isn't a great thing for a movie. Sadly, I actually know a lot of the crew because it filmed all over LA, and they were eye rolling through every take.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
That's perfect because Tim and I were just talking about the production elements of the movie and how we thought the general energy was on set. So you mean to suggest Tim called them a band of merry men and women? Would you agree with that assessment?
I think at a certain point they just had to like buy into it, otherwise they'd be pretty miserable. But
yeah, I guess when you think about it in those terms, like it's the reality that there are people working on all of these shows and movies, and the percentage of them which come out great is so small.
Yeah.
Like there's got to be a lot of people who are just having to buy into stuff they actually don't believe in, because otherwise your life is misery.
Yeah, that's why I got out of film, because I made like 40 movies. As a below the line crew member freelancing, I was just taking whatever I could get, and I think 2 of them anyone ever saw. And then
What were those?
Well, I worked on Taken 2 and The
Nice.
Artist, which were great experiences. But everything else, I mean, I had a habit of, I've worked on a movie called Lumpy, Meth Head. Like, it's, my resume is just comical.
And is Lumpy and Meth Head as a combo certainly sounds like you were doing some pretty interesting stuff in your early 20s.
Yeah.
All right, Shadie.
All right.
Tim's getting back in the chair.
All right, cool.
Okay. I was gonna ask you one more question, Shadie.
He's gonna ask me one more question, he says.
So your experience on, say, Taken 2, is it a lot of Lumpy and Meth Head are better examples. Is everyone just stressed out and just barely getting by, or they were just like, well, this is going to be a turd anyway, so we can kind of just lax it up?
It really varies. Like a lot of the time, as a below the line crew member, you sometimes get excited about what you're working on, but a lot, especially in independent film, most times it's going to be pretty shit. And you just kind of treat it. I'm being recorded saying this. You treat it as a job just to get through it, you know? It's hard to care. But then every now and again you get on a project, especially when you're not in control of what you're working on, you get on a project and it's truly inspirational. Like The Artist was a great example. And it's such a great feeling. And you kind of hold on to it because it has to get you through the next 20, 30 projects that are going to be dire.
I see. So you like ration out the nourishment that gives you to get you through Meth Head 3. Rise of the Meth Heads.
Yeah, Rise of the Meth Heads.
Hey, well, Shadie, and to Natalia, who I haven't met, but as I said earlier, I trust is wonderful. We're having an excellent time in New Zealand.
Thank
I hope
you
we
so
cross
much.
paths.
Yeah, I'll see you soon or on the next one.
Yeah, man.
All right, take care, mate.
Bye.
All right, Montgomery. You got Timbo back.
That's good. I like Shadie, though, I got to tell you.
And it's just so good to have an American voice on the podcast. Gives it a real air of authenticity, I find.
Yeah,
Have a great time at the French markets, you two. All of my Christmas love.
Come back to LA soon.
I was very hungover thanks to you two this morning. This was a real painful watch. Bye, guys.
Hey, Tim.
It's all about friends, isn't it, Guy?
Isn't it? Now, do you ask yourself, are you friends with Shadie? Are you friends with Natalia?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, there's no room for doubt there.
Absolutely not.
Your studio door makes the most satisfying
Clunk?
noise. No, it's sort of the jittery, vibrating noise when you know it goes brrr.
Yeah.
To hear it ringing in the headphones was very satisfying.
So Guy, what did you think of the movie? Let me throw that at you, dude.
Yeah, please. It's always interesting.
Let me ask you a question, my brother.
You already have. You don't need to ask it again. It's interesting when you watch it by yourself after so long in the warm bosom of company, because you become sort of not necessarily tolerant of certain moments, but there are moments which might rustle you more than me, and then accordingly I feel some of the rustling, and then there are other moments where it's like, I notice things or just put.
In my absence, do you get pissed off on my behalf?
No, but there are definitely, like I said last week, I think there are definitely always moments where I'm like, I see the movie. There are moments that we've shared which can't be unshared, and moments we've seen together that can't be unseen. And so moments with like the nightclub owner, right? The guy who doesn't know that there's an outside to his nightclub. And
where's my 500, bro?
Yeah, and then prints off the shitty music. He's like, don't play any of the songs on this list, save Firepower for Mr. Reed. And so to me, every time that happens, even when you're not there, he was always oblivious to the fact that he can go outside and then there's a big line of people there. And the only song that he's printed out that Zaccoli's not allowed to play is Firepower. So he says, don't play any of the songs of that list, save Firepower for Mr. Reed. And that list is literally Firepower. The word Firepower repeated ad nauseum. And so there's stuff like that, but then there's other stuff this week. Like, it's a line that's always got my attention at the start, because Jarhead, at the start of the movie, he's just spitting, he's shitting facts and sweating stats. And nice. He says, 99% of the people in the world are looking for a party. 1% of people are the party. You got to be that.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it with such supreme authority and meaning, like he really believes in it. But have you ever noticed that whenever any of his core group of friends like leaves the party to go and do their own thing, it's just absolute panic stations for Jarhead? And it's like, dude, you are not embodying the spirit of the mantra by which he's, supposedly live.
Huh.
He's looking, like in those moments, he's looking for a party.
You're calling him big old hypocrite.
Yeah, he's not being, and no one's beyond reproach, but Jarhead, he just acts with such confidence, right? That's his role.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. He's like, when Zaccoli leaves and he's running around the bloody club being like, what's happening? Where's Cole?
Here's my take on that. I reckon that is a party for Jarhead. Jarhead lives and thrives on stress. And that is his idea of a party, is just like running around like a headless chook, as we say in New Zealand. Just chasing around trying to find his friend. He would way rather be doing that than dancing on a dance floor. Not a great mover. Not a natural mover is our Jarhead.
I see.
Squirrel, on the other hand, a gifted dancer. But not our Jarhead. Yeah.
So I've misinterpreted Jarhead's version of a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's
I guess it can be hard if when people like their thing is stressing out and panic and being worried and panicking.
Yeah.
I guess I've always been like quite bad at reading that as enjoyment. I guess just because the nature of their enjoyment is to look like they're not enjoying themselves.
Common misconception.
You live and you learn, don't you? And like then so. The other thing I thought in addition to that with Jarhead was I wanted to see a scene after the looking pool when he tackles that guy into the pool and he goes, I got a sense of humor. You want to know something funny, bro? You're dressed like fucking Hillary Clinton, and then tackles him into the pool. And then I just imagine like on the drive home, all he's thinking about is how that insult was like fundamentally flawed, because in no way was that guy dressed like Hillary Clinton. And so, for the entire scene after that, when he rides home in the car with Squirrel and Zaccoli and Johnny Depp, and they're all getting the upholstery all wet and probably quite stinky because it's warm in the valley, so that's going to bake in, and there's just going to be a moist smell in the car. So he's probably upset about that. But I think mostly what he's upset about is tanking his punchline. Like, great setup, great tackle into the pool, but he's just inconsolable and beside himself. That it was like, I got a sense of humor. You want to know something funny, bro? You're dressed like Hillary fucking Clinton. Like, we've said it before, that guy's not dressed like Hillary Clinton, and it's never occurred to me until now that Jarhead knows that. And so, I guess what I would have liked to see is just more of a vulnerable side to Jarhead. So I mistook his version of partying for stressing out. It turns out those are the same thing. But I think he's a thoughtful guy. And in the same way, all of us are upset when we try and insult someone and it doesn't go perfectly, and you think of the perfect insult, over and over for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I wanted to see instead of Squirrel and Zaccoli down the beach being like, oh God, we got crazy friends, I want to see Jarhead pacing around his room, brainstorming other possible burns.
What would you give that guy? He's dressed in a sports like a sports coat almost.
I got a sense of humor, bro. You're dressed like Shaggy from Scooby Doo at a formal occasion.
Yeah,
something like that. Something pretty sniffy, something pretty punchy.
Yeah, yeah. The top half of you is dressed like a 16-year-old at his first ball, and the bottom half of you is dressed like a fuckwit on Venice Beach. And then it's probably a bit wordy, but that's
good. No, it's the top half of you's dressed like a 16-year-old at his school ball, and the bottom half is dressed like the same 16-year-old, but at a different social occasion at the beach. Now that is
spicy meatball, and then
that's a good insult because you're calling him a 16-year-old twice, but the same 16-year-old.
That is a great burn, and I like the punctuation being the throw him into the pool because there's no rhythm to that joke. It's too long, it's too ungainly, and then it's like he's given up and like, fuck this, boom.
Yeah. And also I'm stronger than you.
Yeah.
Not only am I mentally running rings around you, 16-year-old twice over, but I'm physically capable of beating your 16-year-old body into that there looking pool.
Guy, this seems like an appropriate moment to take a quick breather and hear a message from our lovely sponsor.
Ow! This movie's still fine.
This week, the worst idea of all time is sponsored by, once again, Audible.com. That's right, your boys done did it. We got a real, authentic podcast sponsor, and that sponsor is Audible, which is the largest, bestest, most... give me some adjectives, Guy. How would you describe the library of audio content that Audible has at its disposal?
I would say deepest.
Yes.
It goes deeper. If you're looking for high quality audio content, your favorite books, podcasts, all sorts of stuff for your ears, these guys go deeper than anyone I know.
Unmatched is another adjective I would use.
Unmatched is excellent.
Everything, they gave me that one. I won't lie to you. That wasn't my word. That was their word. But it's true.
You can see why it's their word because it's totally appropriate.
It's audiobooks, it's original audio shows, it's news, it's comedy, it's publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazines, and newspapers. It's everyone. Everybody is on Audible. I'm on Audible. But more on the client-facing end. I'm a user of Audible. And I'd like to make a recommendation this week, which I haven't jumped into yet. But I think it would be a real interesting one over the Christmas period to listen to Steve Harvey's book, Jump. Take the leap of faith to achieve your life of abundance. Because I find Steve Harvey to be a very interesting man. You probably know him from, is it Family Feud? That he hosts
Family Feud, yeah.
Yeah, controversial figure. He's a funny man and a great presenter with some very conservative beliefs on certain issues. And every now and then, yeah, big time, bro. Yeah, you have a Google around. His book is narrated by a man named Mike Hodge, and I'm a little disappointed it's not narrated by Steve Harvey himself, but I still am keen to rip into Jump, take the leap of faith to achieve your life of abundance. There's probably a lot of spiritual stuff in there. Good advice from the man himself, Steve Harvey, and you will find that on audible.com. If you go to audible.com/trynow, that's audible.com/trynow, you'll get a 30-day trial membership plus one free download, so you can get started. And I tell you what, the holiday season's just a great time to put some headphones in and create your own little emotional bubble for yourself.
That's right. Withdraw from your familial obligations and spend some time learning from the best. And the best is Steve Harvey, and the best is hosted by the best. That's audible.com.
Ow! This movie's still fine.
And we're back on the worst idea of all time. I've snapped out of it. I was in a sponsored trance. It was crazy. It took over.
Hey, you needn't worry about that, Tim, because I've got all sorts of points to raise.
Oh, boy.
So another thing I noticed in the movie this week, which I thought it makes for an interesting take, is when Zaccoli's DJing at James Reed's pool party, and Somali comes over and she's like, this party's looking a little stiff, Cole. First of all, if I was Cole, I'd be like, yeah, well, it's your fucking party, so sort it out.
Yeah.
But
it's your shitty friends.
But then he instead interprets that, and probably rightly so, as a challenge. He's sort of got to prove himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, he says, you're saying I need to amp it up a little? And she goes, you can try, but these people don't dance before midnight. And I think Zaccoli interprets that as a doubling down on the challenge, to be like, get these people dancing before midnight. Little does he realize that all of these people don't dance before midnight on religious grounds.
Oh, no.
And for him to go to the trouble of making them dance before midnight, sure, it's going to feel good for them for a second, but as soon as they realize that they've broken rank and they are going to have to spend an eternity in the fiery pits of hell, as decided by whichever religion they follow.
What do you think their window is? It's got to be after midnight, but when does it stop? 6 a.m.?
No, midnight to 4 a.m.
Yeah, the witching
and then
hours.
there's no and then you can still stay awake and converse, but it's just no dancing.
Right.
And
An
so
interesting take on a religion. Is there any other little features of this religion that you know about?
Yeah, I know all about the religion. Obviously,
who do they worship?
God. But they're like that's pretty much the only
boring
uniting factor. Well,
okay.
No, because it's all an iteration of God. There's no different name for it. They don't worship Java like some of our friends. They worship the idea of God. Okay. But it's like almost like Baha'i in that they are welcoming to all people of all denominations and faiths, and they're more about realizing the idea of God or some greater presence. And I guess it's their openness which makes it so weird. They're so strict about this dancing rule.
Heathens. Well, they're not that strict because they're not exactly the biggest club bangers. In fact, I go so far as to say a couple of those tracks are clangers. That old Zaccoli's busting out there and they're getting their freak on. They want to rebel against this religious institution that they've been inside of for so long.
Well, the most confusing element will be after they all dance and suddenly midnight strikes, and at midnight they realize that they're already dancing, and that's when they sort of have to acknowledge their own guilt.
Yes.
In a sort of panicked fervor, they all turn to Zaccoli, the crying DJ, as their new leader of not necessarily a rebellion, but as like a cult-like figure who has powers that mean that they can forget their responsibilities to God. And so accordingly they start worshipping him. Meanwhile, he's still just on the quest to make the perfect song. So he can't really satisfy their need for a day.
And Guy, isn't that life? Isn't that the world we live in? That everyone's on their own path, You got Zaccoli just trying to make a hit track, and you got a bunch full of fuckwits, a bunch full of real slack-jawed idiots.
That's the collective noun for a lot of fuckwits.
A bunch full. Just dancing against their religion and then adopting Zac Efron as their new figurehead.
In a sentence, you would say a bunch full of fuckwits have deep thrain vombosis.
Yeah, that would be the articulation of this particular episode of the podcast. I feel like that hangover's coming for me, eh? When that happens, you outrun it for a bit and then it goes.
You cannot outrun it. You just cannot outrun a hangover. There's no way.
You can drown it though, and I haven't had enough water, I think is the problem. Look, business. I'm all about business. There's business to attend to. Part of that business is the reason for the season, which of course is gift giving. Sentimental gifts, self-serving gifts. It's time for Getting Sentimental with James
Reed of the Feelers. Who's
hard thing to
feeling
pull off over
all
Skype.
the feelings? Very hard. I would say we did not do it once again.
But it won't stop us trying.
Yeah. I like that. We should really just delegate it to one, but we're like, no.
It's a friendly activity among friends.
We'll get it. Yeah.
Guy, what's in that MacBook Pro box? I'm loving you.
Tim, I'm so glad you asked because I know exactly what it is.
Good.
This is before James Reed has been betrayed. This is before he's outwardly discovered that Somali and Zaccoli have gone behind his back and made sweet, sweet love. Where's you? In a Las Vegas hotel.
Two backs.
We do not see any P&V. We do not see the impregnation, which later leads to
Kevin,
the immortal, and terrifyingly good-looking Kevin. But later, and we're sort of led to believe that in spite of this huge betrayal, later on, James Reed's belief in Zaccoli as a DJ is so great, and his love of electronic dance music and his wanting to be able to foster and mentor this kid to greatness is so great that he's willing to bury all that and forgive him and give him his opening slot at Summerfest, which is crazy to me because apart from like making one song and playing it in a nightclub when they were both shit-faced on PCP, there's actually no evidence from James Reed that what Zaccoli's making is any good, right?
Yeah.
None.
And
so what is in that box is a small USB stick.
Mm-hmm.
And what's on the stick is literally the worst song that James Reed could imagine being made. Like,
right.
the worst song.
Oh, boy.
And he gives it to Zaccoli, and he's like, it's a self-serving gift. It's DJing software. But what happens is when he puts that USB into his computer,
mm-hmm.
James Reed can control the music that comes out of the computer from his phone.
It's like a Trojan.
Yeah, so it's like it's not. He didn't do it because he wasn't suspicious of Zaccoli, but it was like he's quite a paranoid guy, James Reed, and so he gives him the USB because it's like, look, if it goes to shit, at least as long as he's got the USB, I've got some control over him.
Yeah.
And so, in remembering this, when Zaccoli comes over to like apologize and complain that Squirrel died, even though the movie didn't deserve to kill off one of its characters, James Reed's like, you know what? You know, I understand you're going through a tough time. And then when he calls up and he's like, look, I think I've got something for Summerfest, James Reed is like, yes, absolutely you have something for Summerfest. You are totally my opening act. He has not forgiven Zaccoli one jot.
That is fucking dynamite. This is probably the best one of these I've heard. This is fantastic.
That's right.
It not only like enhances the plot, it fills in plot gaps. Like, how is it that song is such hot garbage?
Exactly.
Why
he's like,
is Zac Efron crying? Because he's trying so hard to like mix out this turd of a song while he's afforded his one big break in his career. And
that's exactly
why
right.
would James Reed be so quick to forgive Zac Efron? The answer is, folks, he didn't. He never did forgive him. The dude fucked his girlfriend.
Yeah. And that's why he's so keen to introduce him to everyone at the gig. He's like, you got it. He's like, I'm about to fucking light this guy up on the biggest stage of his life.
His name is Zaccoli. Write it down. You're going to need to remember that once you hear this track.
He had so much fun making the track as well. He was like, what is the worst stuff you could put into a song? Oh, I know. Just recordings of coins on tables from your phone. That would be a very funny thing to hear in a song. So he put it in.
Yes. Guy Montgomery, you've done it again. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of James Reed. And I'm disappointed it took us over half a season's worth of watches to finally stumble into this.
I almost feel like we can retire this pathway now. Like that, I feel like we're at the end of the journey. We've reached the destination.
Well, speaking of business, Tim.
Yes.
And you know, incoming, outgoing expenses, exporting, importing. You know, what I know. Last week you had some pretty detailed and speculative theories as to what exactly is going on down at the Page
Gold
factory.
Star Realty Solutions, yep.
The Page Harrell Gold Star Realty Solutions factory, and that is he's an alchemist.
Yes. Because he's building a supercomputer with gold.
Yeah. He's a wild and crazy guy. I had another idea. What was the front? The front was the realty. The front was the realty solutions.
The front
right?
is the property company. That's right.
Yeah. I think he's buried another front inside of the property front.
Okay.
I think he's covering his tracks twice, and it actually ties in quite nicely with the opening sort of question. I think you asked at the beginning of this audio essay we're providing, which was, who are my friends? Are we your friends? Are you my friend?
Yeah.
And Page's business is, in essence, calling up people as their friend. So calling up people striking a familiar tone. You're not pushing any agenda. You're not talking about anything in particular, but you're just calling up with the illusion of familiarity and friendliness. Time is money. What you're taking off of these people by doing this is their time. What do you do with that time? You take it to the bank, you bank it as money.
Right.
So he's taking audio recordings from these phone calls, and then he collates all of the recordings at the end of the day. He takes them down to the bank. He says, here is some stranger's time. I would like to bank this as cash. And at the bank, the first time he did that, do you know what they said?
What?
Absolutely not. These are small cassette tapes with illegally recorded phone calls on them.
Guy,
And
you've lost it, mate.
do you know what Paige Harrell said?
What do you say?
You're absolutely correct. I'm sorry. I'm a bit frazzled at the moment working on a supercomputer. And he left. He left the bank.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
So, I mean, it's not
but
really...
you've got to try. And that's Paige's whole ethos. You've got to try these things. You've got to get out there. If you've got an idea, you got to throw it at the bank. Chuck it at those tellers. Put the ball in their court. See what they do with it.
Exactly.
You know?
And if what
element.
they say to you is this isn't money, you have to respectfully acknowledge that and say, do you know what? You're right. That isn't money.
You're correct.
But
a micro cassette is not legal tender in this country.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's right. That's fucking right, man. Listen, I feel like we're in the closing stretch now. I've got to go get in an aeroplane. There's two bits of business, bits of obligation, and bits of joy that we need to get to real quick. And that is one of the tiers on our Patreon is that you get a 30-second ad on the podcast if you pay for that. Two people have climbed the mountain to that tier, and neither of them had anything particular to say. So they've just kind of said, say whatever. So we now get 60 seconds to shout them out and say whatever, which makes a huge difference from the last 40 minutes where we've said exactly what we needed to say. Now we can say what we want to say.
Oh, okay. Well, Tim, I'll let you take it away.
Oh, boy. Okay, first of all, let me name the two people. The first person is Maureen Johnson, and let's just talk about her. Let's just talk about gorgeous Maureen. Find her on Twitter, follow her, read her books. She's an author. She's great. Friend of the podcast.
Young adult fiction. Do you have a young adult in your life? Maybe a grown child who's on the cusp of becoming a young adult, and you think to yourself, I think to myself, I'm always thinking about your kids. I think, God, I wish your kid would read more. And you think, I wish my kid would read more as well. Well, Maureen Johnson has thought that thought and pretty much filled that gap in the market. She writes some of the best young adult fiction out there. And you can buy it, give it to your kid, watch them grow very intelligent, start out-thinking you, out-maneuvering you, start siphoning money out of your bank account, taking control into their own hands. I mean, maybe
it's getting this always happens, Guy. You keep talking and it gets dark and sinister. It always starts at a good place, and we always find the other person who's contributed money to achieve.
All I'm saying is, get them one book. Do not buy them more than one Maureen Johnson book. Buy them one book. Buy them 13 little blue envelopes. Okay, and then let them read it.
It's always so convoluted with you, isn't it?
And cut them off from any other of Maureen's books, because those kids they're gonna grow very smart very quickly.
I would also like to say thank you. No, you're done, Guy. You're done.
I was going to say, take it away, Tim.
It's supposed to be a 30-second ad.
Well, this is why they should send us scripts.
Yeah, it's true. The other person who's contributed to that amount is my own brother, John. And I feel like part of it is him just going, look at this power I may have wielded over you. And I say to him, good job, John. You done great.
Yeah.
But then he didn't have anything to send me anyway. So this is an acknowledgement that he is my brother and a good man.
For those of you who don't know, John
dad.
Michael Batt was born on the 22nd of September 1935 and is a former Australian jurist who was a Court of Appeal Justice at the Supreme Court of Victoria. He didn't retire from court until 2005. So, John, I mean, God knows how you...
good innings.
Yeah.
How
we
old
respect
am I?
you.
Oh, boy. All right, bro. Listen, this is it. I am
No.
your friend, but I'm also like, what do you want from me? I've got.
I want you to tell me what you
plane.
specifically enjoyed about the movie this week.
Oh boy, I can't believe I missed that out. It was actually. See, I used to have really stringent rules about The Shining Light, and now I'm kind of coming over to your way of thinking. There is, in the sequence where Zaccoli is DJing and it starts going into some slow motion sequences with people during the bit where the devotees of the religion, where they can't dance before midnight, but suddenly they're willing to throw that all away for Baywatch's Zac Efron. There's a woman who fucking barrels the camera, and I saw it today and I've never seen it before, and it was glorious. And
That is good.
It didn't even take me out of the film. It was just like, it almost put me deeper in. Like she was looking me in the eye, and I was like, I see you, you see me. This is cool.
I always
having a
feel
good
like
time.
if you catch them in, especially in these worst idea movies, when you're like halfway through, that I always read them looking at the camera as a cry for help from the inside.
Stop.
Like they're like, if you stop watching this, we can stop doing this
Yeah.
acting every week.
Yeah. Terrifying. And for
It's
you,
very confusing.
Monsieur?
Like I don't know who's holding who captive. I don't know if the movie's holding us captive or we're holding all of the people captive every week. For me,
It's
Tim,
like that's quite a philosophical question. I feel like we are the jailers. We are our own jailers.
we're all in the same cell.
You go.
My shining light is when Zaccoli wakes up and starts listening to his phone recordings. He's lying there listening to one called Emily Voicemail, and then the other ones for the coin are just called Sound Recording 2.
Yeah.
And he's lying there in his bed, and there's a shot, like a wider shot of him lying on the bed. And they get a few of those, and as well they should, because watching Zac Efron lying in bed is a real one of life's little pleasures.
It really is.
Behind him, he sleeps next to a window, and the window has like a series of those sort of metallic Venetian blinds, you know, and there's always 3 cords on the blinds. There's one to go all the way up and down, and there's one to like tilt the blinds downwards and one to tilt them back upwards. And they always break, and at the bottom right corner of the set of Venetian blinds, it's like angled up on the like they don't go all the way down anymore. They're broken. And I thought I can relate to that. So I don't know who dressed that. I don't know who dressed that set, but they really they hit a home run then.
Fucking hell, you took me on a real journey there, Guy. Congrats to you. And on
Happy
that,
to do it.
I think we should wrap up, because otherwise I'm going to miss a flight. I want to say happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas if you do that one. Happy Hanukkah if that's your jam. If you're an atheist humanist, just fucking, you know, do you. Do you,
Lighten
bro.
up, I would say.
Happy Kwanzaa. That's probably the extent of the holidays that I know that happen around this time. It's probably thousands.
Happy birthday to anyone celebrating a birthday near Christmas. May you get 2 gifts.
This movie's still fine.
One of them dies, that goes screw. One of them's a hottie, his name is Jarhead. One of them looks like Johnny Depp, and his name is Johnny Depp.
Classic Maximum Joseph.
You forget that films are supposed to have a point.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. If you're thirsty for another, why not try Boners of the Heart?
Yeah, your pubes fall out when you get old.
That's dope. Perfect for eating puss, right?
Fucking perfect for munching on some puss.
Munching on some geriatric puss.
Yeah, fucking get out there and get that puss, geriatrics.
Oh,
That's
God.
dope. I hope that there are old people all across the world right now who are just fucking munching on each other's pusses and pens.